Good day. So happy to be with you. And we want to welcome you to our new series called Beacons of Hope. We're so excited about this series. Sean and I have met together and did some planning on this, and we are planning to share a series of short devotionals daily. So Sean will be sending them out at around 8 a.m. every day, and we know that this will be a real blessing to you. I've contacted a number of you, and it's been a blessing to be in touch with you. And I know these devotionals will be a blessing for you during this crisis time. The first one is called Fruit of the Spirit. How many of you like fruit? Well, I think most of us would say yes. I could say, what is your favorite fruit? And there'd probably be a number of different answers to that. But who doesn't like fruit? We all like fruit, I think, and especially the fruit that is sweet. Well, during my formative years, grades 5 to 12, I had the privilege of growing up in the Okanagan Valley and spending 8 years there in the Okanagan Valley, and it was the best time of my life, really. As you know, the climate is ideal there, as you may know, and as you may know, the Okanagan Valley is the ideal place to grow fruit. And I often tell people that it must be an ideal climate if you can grow fruit there, and so it indeed was a beautiful place to live. But they grew peaches, there were many orchards there, peaches, pears, apples, cherries, grapes, and other fruit were in abundance. I remember visiting one of our members' place in place called West Bank near Kelowna, and I remember picking the peaches, actually the ripe peaches, off the tree and actually just taking a bite. Boy, was it juicy and flavorful, and that was, of course, that's one of my favorite fruits, peach. I remember picking cherries, going to someone's farm and actually picking cherries and getting paid for it. Picking the cherries, I think I picked as many spurs, and that was a no-no, but anyway, at least I didn't eat a lot of cherries, which I was tempted to do. But imagine what it will be like in heaven. Imagine with me what it will be like in heaven when we sit around the tree of life and we're able to pick a different kind of fruit every month from that tree of life. Won't that be a beautiful experience? Well, you know, in the Christian life, there is a fruit that's talked about in the Bible. It's called the fruit of the Spirit. Many of you, I'm sure most of you have heard of that. Galatians chapter 5, 22 and 23 talks about this fruit of the Spirit. And so let me read that text to you today, this day. Galatians 5, 22 and 23. Here's how it goes. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So this is this fruit is worth cultivating. Well, what does this word fruit mean in the spiritual sense? Well, the Greek word translated fruit refers to the natural product of a living thing. The natural product of a living thing. Paul used fruit to help us understand the product of the Holy Spirit, who comes inside every believer as we invite him to come in. The fruit of the Spirit is produced by the Spirit, not by the Christian. That's an important distinction. The Greek word is singular, showing that fruit is a unified whole, not independent characteristics. And as we grow, all the characteristics will be manifested in our lives. Isn't that wonderful? The fruit of the Spirit. It's not a banana, orange, or cantaloupe. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I'll be covering each one of these in subsequent devotionals, which, by the way, are called the Beacon of Hope. Each Beacon of Hope will be sharing, I'll be sharing a different fruit of the Spirit. Well, interesting to note that the physical fruit needs time to grow. Isn't that true? After winter and pruning, leaves start to appear on the tree, and the leaves grow to full foliage. Then blossoms appear, and then the fruit. Well, as you know, this all takes time, and it's a process of growth that takes time. And like a successful gardener or orchard keeper, they must battle against weeds to enjoy the fruit they desire. We too must constantly work to rid our lives of the weeds of our old sinful natures that have a tendency to choke the work of the Spirit. But friends, as we give the Spirit more control of our lives, He begins to do in and through us what only He can do, to shape us and grow us to look like Jesus. That's 2 Corinthians 3:17 and 18. A number of years ago, the Associated Press released a study done by an agricultural school in Iowa. It was an interesting study. It reported that production of 100 bushels of corn from 1 acre of land, in addition to the many hours of the farmer's labor, required 4 million pounds, if you can imagine, 4 million pounds of water, 6,800 pounds of oxygen, 5,200 pounds of carbon, 160 pounds of nitrogen, 125 pounds of potassium, 75 pounds of yellow sulfur, and other elements too numerous to list. In addition to these things, which no man can produce, rain and sunshine at the right time are very critical. And they come from above, as we know. And so it was estimated that only 5% of the produce of the farm could be actually attributed to the efforts of man. They did a lot of work, but only 5% was attributed to their efforts, to a man's effort. And so if we were to be truly honest, we'd have to admit that the same is true in producing spiritual fruit. We can take very little credit for the spiritual fruit in our lives. It is God that works in our lives to do His good pleasure, and He that hath begun a good work will complete it, and to God be the glory. I want to close with the promise found in 1 John 4, verse 18. It's a wonderful promise, and we're going to leave you with a promise after every little beacon of hope that we share with you each day. 1 John chapter 4 and verse 8. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. And then verse 18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love Him because He first loved us. So go with God, and may this be a blessing in your life today. Amen.